All right, let's dive right in. We're about to tackle one of the oldest, and I mean deepest, questions humanity has ever asked. For more than 2,500 years, we've been on this incredible quest to figure out what is reality. It's a journey that's going to take us from ancient Greece all the way to modern physics, and it has a name: ontology.
So, what is real? No, I mean really real. We're not just talking about the chair you're sitting on or the screen you're looking at. We're asking, what is the basic stuff of existence itself? It's a question that's so big it can feel almost impossible to answer. But luckily for us, philosophers gave it a name and a whole field of study. That's ontology. It's the grand project of figuring out what it truly means to be.
The word itself actually comes straight from ancient Greek. You've got ontos, which means being, and logos, which means study. So it's literally the study of being. Simple, right? But the questions it asks are anything but. Things like, what stuff actually exists? What makes something something? And what does it even mean for something to exist in the first place? This isn't just some abstract philosophical game. This is the absolute bedrock of philosophy. And as we're going to see, it's become crucial for modern science too.
So, to get our heads around this massive 2,500-year story, here's our game plan. First, we'll head back to ancient Greece to see where this whole question of being even started. Then, we'll track how the focus shifted to God, the mind, and substance. After that, we'll jump into a really wild idea. What if reality is just information? We'll see how physics got tangled up in these questions, and finally, we'll pull it all together with a modern idea of the universe as a kind of cosmic ledger.
Okay, first stop on our journey: ancient Greece. As with so many big ideas, this is where it all began. This was the moment when brilliant thinkers stopped just, accepting the world as it looked and started asking this brand new, totally radical question: what is the fundamental nature of being itself?
And right out of the gate, they split into two totally opposite camps. This debate basically set the stage for the next 2 millennia of philosophy. On one side, you've got Heraclitus. He said everything is change, everything is flux. His famous line: you can't step in the same river twice. Why? Because the river's changed, and so have you. But then you have Parmenides. He came back with this incredibly simple, yet mind-blowing claim: what is, is. He argued that being has to be permanent, eternal. You can't have nothingness. It's just not possible. And that idea, that nothing truly, fundamentally disappears, is a really important thread. Keep that one in mind.
Then Aristotle steps onto the scene, and he's like, okay guys, this is great, but let's get organized here. He wasn't so much interested in debating whether reality changes or not. He wanted to categorize it. He literally created the first ever taxonomy of being. He started asking, in what ways can something exist? Is it a substance, a quality, like red, a quantity, like 10? This was a total game changer. The question shifted from if things are real to how they are real.
All right, so after the Greeks, the whole conversation about reality takes a major pivot. For more than 1,000 years, the search for ultimate reality, well, it wasn't about the physical world anymore. It was about God. And then, believe it or not, it would shift again, this time inward, to the human mind.
And man, things started changing fast. First, you have guys like Aquinas in the Middle Ages. He makes this really interesting distinction between a thing's essence, what it is, and its existence, which he said was a gift from God. Okay, then jump forward a few centuries to Spinoza, and he makes this wild proposal. There's only one substance in the entire universe. Call it God, call it nature, it's all the same thing. And just when your head is spinning, Kant comes along and completely flips the script. He says, look, we can never know what things are like in themselves. All we can ever know is how our minds filter and structure our experience. All of a sudden, reality isn't something out there anymore. It's being built right in here.
And just when you think things can't possibly get any weirder, along comes Hegel. He basically takes Kant's idea about a mind-structured reality and blows it up to the scale of the entire universe. For Hegel, the cosmos itself is a kind of thinking process. It's in this constant loop. You start with being, which implies its opposite, nothing, and the tension between them resolves into becoming. The big takeaway? Reality isn't some static object. It's a dynamic, unfolding, self-realizing process.
Okay, let's jump forward to the 20th century, because this is where a totally new player enters the game. The ultimate stuff of reality might not be matter or mind or God. What if it was information? This was a huge, huge shift in thinking, and it was really sparked by the dawn of computers and information theory.
And this whole idea is captured perfectly in 3 little words from the amazing physicist John Wheeler: it from bit. What did he mean?
He was proposing that every particle, every force, every single physical thing gets its existence from a bit of information. Think about it. The entire physical world, at its core, might just be built from the answers to a series of yes or no questions. Wow.
Now, this it from bit idea didn't exist in a vacuum. It actually fit perfectly with something called process philosophy. Philosophers like Alfred North Whitehead were already arguing that the universe isn't made of static, boring things. Nope. They said reality is a buzzing network of dynamic events. I love this analogy. The universe isn't a collection of nouns, it's one giant, unfolding verb. But the idea kept evolving. In fact, the source material for this explainer suggests a really crucial tweak to Wheeler's famous phrase. It's not just it from bit, which kind of sounds like information being processed and then it's gone. No, it's it from kept record. And that little change means everything. It implies something profound. The universe doesn't just process information, it preserves it. It remembers. Every single event leaves a permanent trace.
And this brings us right up to the modern day, where something amazing happened. Physics, the science of figuring out how the universe works, well, it drilled down so deep that it found itself asking the exact same questions the ancient Greeks were asking 2,500 years ago. The scientists suddenly had to become philosophers.
And the stuff they were uncovering was, well, it was mind-bendingly weird. You had Einstein telling us that space and time are actually one single thing, a geometric fabric called space-time. Then quantum field theory comes along and says, forget particles. The real reality is a set of invisible, vibrating fields. And then, get this, the black hole information paradox asks the question that sounds like it came straight from Parmenides. What happens to information that falls into a black hole? Does it just disappear forever? Can existence itself just be deleted?
So, where does all this lead? We've gone from ancient Greece to quantum physics. Well, our final section looks at a really cool modern idea that tries to pull all these different threads together. It's called legeral ontology, and the goal is to weave everything, permanence, process, fields, information, into one single cohesive picture of what reality is.
So what is legeral ontology? The core idea is that the universe works kind of like a giant universal ledger book. In this picture, every single interaction, every event, all information is treated like an entry in this ledger that is conserved. It's never erased. It's never deleted. And that sounds an awful lot like what Parmenides was saying 2,500 years ago, doesn't it? Nothing is ever truly lost.
And check this out. This isn't some brand new idea that just came out of nowhere. It's really the culmination of this entire historical journey. Look at the parallels. The Greek idea that being can't not be, that's reflected in a modern math system that doesn't allow for zero. Spinoza's idea of one single substance, that looks a lot like a single universal field in physics. Hegel's reality as a process, we see that in the feedback loops within that field. And Wheeler's it from bit gets upgraded to the lit ledger, a universe that records everything. It all connects.
So how does this cosmic ledger actually work? Well, you can think of it as building in layers. At the very bottom, you have the physics, a single physical field that can never ever be zero. Next, you have the math that governs it, basically a set of rules that says nothingness is forbidden. From that foundation, you get information. Every single interaction in that field gets locked in as a permanent record. And then, the final layer is experience. The theory suggests that consciousness itself might just be the field observing its own records. It's a complete picture, from physics all the way up to you and me.
Look, if you take away just one single thing from this entire 2,500-year story, make it this. Nothing truly disappears. Every balance leaves a trace. That's not just a cool phrase. It's not just a physics principle. It's a deep statement about the very nature of being. It suggests our universe is fundamentally built on conservation, on memory, and that it is constantly, automatically recording itself.
And that leaves us with one last question, and this one's a bit more personal. Because if any of this is right, if the universe really is a permanent ledger that remembers absolutely everything, then what are you adding to the record? What trace are you leaving behind on the fabric of existence? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.